New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Why, hello, my beautiful friends. Thank you for joining me today, your doula for grief. I am just so honored to have you here with me. And if it's your first time joining me, I just want to assure you that you have come to the right place to begin your healing journey from grief. And if you're returning, well, thank you, my friends, for trusting me and coming back again to be with me and just inviting you to make this show for and about you as well. Drop a comment in the comment box or a question. And also, why don't you just make yourself comfortable? Cup of tea, cup of coffee, glass of wine, whatever you need. Just get comfy and settle into our time together. So again, thank you for joining me. And I should really say who I am. My name is Bonnie Gonzalez, and I am, a grief coach, a certified grief educator. I'm a registered nurse, a religious science practitioner, and also a licensed soul collage facilitator. And the thing that I'm most proud of to be is a human being right here on the planet with you, doing what I do best, following through on my passion of bringing grief out of the shadows of our lives and bringing it right smack into the middle of our lives so that we can truly embrace grief, because it is one of life's biggest teachers. And not only one of our biggest teachers, it can be, when we embrace that grief, it can be our greatest healer. So with that, that's who I am and that's what I'm about. And I have a beautiful guest waiting in the wings. And before I bring my beautiful guest out, I just wanted to talk about loss and grief for 2 seconds. As you know, loss is what we experience, and then grief is what we feel. So loss is classified by anything that happens, any change that happens, that our lives cannot go back to the way it was before. And you know that death is the biggest wound that we will suffer of a loss. The biggest wound is death of a loved one. But don't forget divorce, loss of a job, geographical move, loss of health, aging. Our list of losses are long and plenty. Therefore, it is because of these losses that we get catapulted into the arms of grief. And grief is just classified as those emotional responses to the loss. Be it anger, be it sadness, be it confusion, numbness, rage. Sometimes there's even joy attached to some of our losses. But know that grief is the emotional response to the loss. And so with that, today our theme is moving from grief to joy while facing multiple health challenges. And with that, I want to bring my beautiful guest on, who is Kathy Rothenberger. Shares how she gathered the courage to face her multiple serious health challenges. And with resilience, Kathy continues her healing journey. And a little bit about Kathy Rothenberger. She is the better half of Joe Rothenberger, the producer of my program. So I've known Joe for 3 years, and Kathy has always been right there, right beside Joe when she wasn't in the hospital or continuing to her healing journey. They're attached at the hip. How's that? But anyway, Kathy has been an editor. Kathy is an editor. She's an editor, and she worked for many years in corporate America. She was a mortgage banker managing payments for Fortune 500 companies. So with that, I want to just welcome Kathy to the show.
Hi, Bonnie.
Kathy,
Glad to be here.
I'm so glad to see you. And I must say, Kathy, I just want to say up front, thank you for your yes. Thank you
No
for
problem. I'm
and
enjoying it.
oh well, and there's so many people that are out in the world that are suffering with health challenges. Just briefly, myself, the yesterday, yeah, yesterday I was really in grief about my own loss of some limiting mobility issues.
Oh boy.
So I'm just saying that I can feel into that because I was thinking, wow, I used to be able to walk faster down the street. I used to be able to run up those stairs, and it's like now I can barely 1 foot at a time. Foot up and then bring the other foot up. But Kathy, I know just a little bit of your story through Joe, but would you share your journey with health and healing and wholeness with the
Sure,
audience? Would you
sure.
share with us your journey?
I can do that. My journey actually starts when I was born
Okay.
because my mother had a very hard time keeping babies until they were full term.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, none of us went full term.
Wow.
There were 7 babies before me that were either stillborn or miscarried, and
Wow.
then several after me, between
Wow.
me and my brother. And it was basically he and I were the only 2 that survived. I was
Wow.
born, most everybody is born at 9 months. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't. I was born at 6 months and 1 pound, 8 ounces.
Wow. Wow.
Nobody thought I was going to make it. When I was
Mhm.
born, the entire medical staff in the room, they grabbed whatever water they could find, and everybody baptized me, and they were praying their heads
Oh.
off that I would make it because they knew my mom's story and how much her grief was every time she lost a child.
Oh,
They were
yes.
really they were really praying and hoping for me to make it. And
Oh, yes.
I am a tough Polak. My dad is my dad was 100% Polish, so
Okay.
I'm a tough Polak, and I was just even just born. I was like, I'm not giving up.
Yeah.
So I managed to survive that,
Well,
and
you had all those prayers.
yes,
Everyone in the room was praying for you, Kathy,
yep,
to make it.
exactly.
To
That's right. I
make
didn't
it.
have a choice.
Yeah.
Um, I actually ended up being the smallest baby at that hospital to
Mm.
be born prematurely at 1 pound, 8 ounces. I held that record for, I want to say, 27, 28 years when a little boy broke my record and he was born and survived at 1 pound, 4 ounces.
Oh, leave it to those men to try to
I know,
try to
right?
outdo us. Yes.
But
Well,
I
good
was
for
glad that
him.
he
Good
made
for
it. I would
him.
have been really sad,
Yes,
if
yes,
he
yes,
hadn't.
yes.
It would have been cool to keep my
Mhm.
record, but records are made to be broken, right?
Got it, Kathy. Yeah. So after that birth, and oh, let me just ask a question before you continue on, and or maybe can include this in our conversation. Do you think your mother treated you any differently? I mean, was she? Do you think there was anxiety, or did she love you up, or what was that relationship with your mom, being the first one after 7 miscarriages? I mean,
It
that
was
is,
very, very tough for her. She and I mean, when I was younger, she was mommy and you do what you're told and stuff like that. But when I got older, she and I ended up being absolute best friends. We
okay.
did a lot of things together. We went to the mall. We just hung out.
Hmm.
One day I was probably, I want to say 12 or 14. My dad went to work in the morning and my mother said, "Okay, Kathy, get up. Let's get started." And I'm like, "Started on what?"
Hmm.
And she said, "We're going to redo the den." And I'm like,
What do you
"Okay."
mean you do it?
So we go downstairs, and at the time we had a small den, and there was a one-car garage um, out the door from the den. It was part of the house, it was attached to it. So mommy handed me a hammer, and she said, "Okay, start hitting the wall."
Wow.
I'm like, "What?" She goes, "Before your father gets home, we are going to have a larger den."
Oh my goodness.
Okay. So we had a great time knocking the wall down.
Mm,
My uncle came in from about 80 miles away and ran the electricity for my mom. Then we put up the sheetrock. No, I'm sorry. We took down the sheetrock to make the room bigger, but we put up a new floor in the garage to bring it up to the level of the den. And by the time my dad got home, we had an entirely different den. We
wow.
had a new rug down and everything, the
Wow.
furniture was all reorganized. But the cool part was from the outside, you couldn't tell because
Right.
the garage door was still there.
Yes.
And you only saw the difference when you walked into the room.
Into the room. Right. Right. Not from the outside of the house. You couldn't
Right,
tell.
right.
Uh
So
huh.
my father had no clue what my mom and I had spent the day doing.
Wow. What you
And
two were up
after
to.
dinner, after dinner, he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go watch TV in the den." And my mother and I kind of looked at each other and grinned. And he goes downstairs, and about 5 minutes later, he's like, "Pat, what did you do?"
What did you and Kathy do today?
Yeah, well, he didn't include me. He just figured she
Oh,
did it.
right.
And,
Right. So this is when you were 12, correct?
about, yeah, 12, 14,
So
somewhere in there.
so from birth, even though you were born premature, from birth until 12, you had no health challenges, health issues that
No, I
popped
was
up.
really doing really well.
Right. Okay.
I was
All
really
right.
doing really well. The only thing
Mm-hmm.
that happened at one point was I was prone to ear infections.
Oh,
And
right.
one morning, my mom was doing my hair in her bedroom. She used to love playing with my hair. She would make all these
Mm-hmm.
styles and things. And so I was standing in front of the mirror and she was talking to me, and all of a sudden, I was frozen. I
Oh,
couldn't talk, I couldn't speak, I couldn't move, I couldn't turn my head. And she's like, "Kathy, Kathy," and she's snapping her fingers in front of my
uh-huh.
face, and I couldn't answer her. So her
Oh,
bedroom window looked out over the side street, and on the other side of the street was a New York City police officer's house.
right, right.
So my mother opened the window and started screaming for her friend. Her friend heard her, came flying over, came in the house, and she's like, "What's going on?" And my
Yeah.
mother was like, "Look at Kathy, she's a statue." So Maureen called the ambulance and got me to the hospital. and turned out I had a very, very bad ear infection
Oh,
that
okay.
had gone into
Mm.
like the lining of my brain
Brain, yes,
and
meningitis,
caused
yeah.
like a mini seizure, I guess.
Yeah.
So the doctors told my mom that I had epilepsy and that's what it was. And my mother was like, no, she does not have epilepsy. She has
Uh-huh.
never had epilepsy in her entire life. This is brand new. There's got to be something else. So they did brain scans and CAT scans and this and that and whatever. And one of the doctors, finally, the light bulb went on over his head. And
Mm-hmm.
he said, there's only one other thing that
That
would
this could
cause
be.
a brain scan, brain wave pattern
Mm-hmm.
like this. Was she premature? And
Oh,
my mother
man.
said, yes, she was born at 6 months. And he goes, okay, that's what it is. She does not have epilepsy. She
Wow.
has a very bad ear infection, which we could tell. And she
Mm-hmm.
must have, the infection must have gone
In
into
the
the
brain.
lining of her
Mm-hmm.
brain and caused a seizure. So
Wow.
they put me on strong antibiotics for the ear infection, and I was fine after that. And I never had an episode like that again in my entire life.
And how old were you at that point, Kathy?
About 12, 13.
Oh, so 12. And so I was just going to add to that, just to think if your mom had just accepted that it was a seizure and you're epileptic, you would have been on medicine forever. Because, once you start those anti-seizure or anti-convulsive medications, you're on for a lifetime. I
That's
mean,
true.
you're on for quite some time.
And I would have been
Um,
getting medication for a condition that I did not
It
have.
didn't exist. So your mom was just really, she was your advocate.
Yes.
Because the reason I was asking you about your mom, I've heard from some people, I know of someone whose mother had lost quite a few children. And when they were finally born, the mother was hesitant about forming a strong bond because she was afraid that
She
baby
was
would
going to
die.
lose the child.
Yeah, so
That
that's
makes
why I
sense.
was asking if your mom had that issue
Right.
when
That
you were
makes sense.
born.
Well,
Hmm.
that was a little bit more with my brother than
Okay.
with me. He was born at 7 months and 2 pounds. And he didn't have any health challenges like I did, but
Hmm.
mommy was just concerned that something would happen to him and he
Right.
would not live to adulthood. But he
Hmm.
fooled her also.
Oh,
And
he proved her wrong.
yep,
Nothing like proving folks wrong about your health.
that's
Uh,
exactly right.
and how much younger is he, Kathy, than you are?
5 years.
Oh, that's a big. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's almost like being an only child again or being
exactly.
the oldest child. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I
Yeah.
was um, 5 years older than my sister. She was born in January and he was born in December.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
they're kind of like what you call Irish twins, you know?
Yes, yes. I'm one of the Irish triplets.
Oh, wow.
Three of us all in 2 year span.
That's
But
so cool.
yeah, but no, but this is so with that said, having the younger siblings and just doing well and having that episode of a really severe ear infection. After
Yep.
that, your life, I mean, your health was pretty much just status quo, right? I
I
mean,
was normal and healthy the
mhm.
entire rest of my life until 2018, I want to say.
That's not that long ago, Kathy.
No, no, it wasn't. Um, in 2018, I
Hmm.
hadn't had a mammogram in a couple years.
Hmm.
So I was like, well, I guess I better get that done.
Hmm.
And the tech kept going back to the same spot over and over again. And I'm like, what's going on? She goes, I can't get a really good picture right here. It's
Yeah.
kind of cloudy. And I'm
Okay.
like, okay, but she's not allowed to say, of course,
Oh, yeah, they can't give any diagnosis.
right.
They just, yeah.
But my mom had had breast cancer off and on for
Oh,
34
mm,
years, and she finally passed away when I was 38. She
From
had
breast cancer?
of metastasized breast cancer.
Oh,
Because
Kathy.
back then they did not do like we do now. They did not have an option of taking the second one off also to eliminate another possibility of it coming back. So when I
Yeah,
got
preventative.
right, so
treatment for care.
when the tech kept seeing something's not right there, I knew immediately what was going on. I really did. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
she said, well, I'm sending these to your doctor. She will call you next week and discuss the findings, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
And I'm
Right.
like, okay, no problem. So I left and I told Joe, something's not right. I probably have cancer. And he's like, oh, wonderful. Because we both knew what my mother had gone through.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
I said, but I'm going to be fine. I'm not going
Yes.
to let this get me. I'm going to be fine. So Monday morning, the doctor's office called and she was like, well, can you come in right away?
Oh, they want an urgent. Oh, that's
Yes.
very alarming. Okay.
So the bell went off, ding, ding, ding.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to the doctor and I walk in and I sit down in her office and she walks in and she is in tears. She is
Oh.
crying her head off. And I'm like, what's the matter, Caroline? And she said, I'm just so upset about you. And I'm like,
Wow.
why?
Well, yeah, should I be upset?
Right? I said, why are you upset? And she goes, most of the time, the people I get in here have a cold or a sore throat or something simple, she says. I've never had to tell anybody this news before, and I don't know how to do it. I said,
Wow.
what's going on? Do I have breast cancer? And she's like, how did you know? So I
Wow.
told her about my mom and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, oh my God, Kathy, I'm more upset than you are.
Right.
I expected to be consoling you, and you're the
Right.
one consoling me.
Yeah. Well, doctors are human as
Yes,
well, with
yes, exactly.
emotions.
And
And
I
so,
told her, I'm going to be fine. Don't worry about it. I'm going to beat this. I'll be fine. And she's like, okay. So she gave me my options, lumpectomy,
yes.
radiation, blah, 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 take it off, take them both off, whatever. And I said to her, well, I'm going to take them both off because, and I gave her the short speech about my mom.
Yes,
And
yes, yes.
she's like, okay, I understand. That's a good decision.
Great,
So
great.
when the doctor called to schedule a consultation, the surgeon, I mean, I told his nurse that I wanted them both gone. And his nurse was like, well, that's not really necessary. That's kind of a radical way to deal with it. And I said, that's exactly what I want.
But you had a reason. You had a strong family history,
Yes.
watching your mom, suffer and
Yes.
finally succumb to that. So
Exactly.
yeah,
And I had no intention of following in her footsteps with that at all.
right,
So I
right.
told the surgeon's nurse, I want a double mastectomy, radical on the left side. That was where the cancer was. Radical on
Right.
the left, so you get the lymph nodes and the muscles,
Yes, yes. That's a big
everything
yes.
like that. So they made the appointment for the surgery. I went under the knife, and that was that. I was fine.
Wow.
They were checking me every month for 5 years and all, and
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm cancer free, and I intend to stay that way.
And and how did you cope with that part of having a double mastectomy? I'm sure there was a lot of grief there, with body image.
You know, this is what I told Joe. At this point, they're just for decoration, and I don't need them. They're
Yeah.
not doing anything. So if they're gone, I don't care.
Yeah.
He's like, well, it's you, it's your body, and if that's what you want to do, I don't have a problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you know, they were, sorry, Joe. He said they were fun to play with, but if you don't need them, that's fine. I can deal with that.
Oh, that is sweet. I mean, well, to
Yes.
have that support, but it
He's
is, you know,
always been a great support. He's always been my
mm,
rock.
yes, Kathy, I feel that that is vital because, well, I was going to ask you, but I'll let you continue. Then I'll ask you a couple questions that I had. I mean, you had
Sure.
Joe as support, and I'm just thinking into the fact I was a registered nurse and had taken care of women with mastectomies, and it was always really vital. They would always say that the woman needs to see the scar before she goes home.
Right.
So, yeah, how did you feel about that? I mean, was there any hesitation?
No,
And you sound
no,
so like, yeah, Kathy, you sound
there
like
was no
you're
hesitation. The
very
only thing I did
accepted.
not like was the
Hmm.
fact that they had drains on
Oh,
both
yeah.
sides. That I
Right.
didn't like. That was yucky. But
Yeah.
I was very, very fortunate. My plastic surgeon was a miracle doctor with the needle, and I had extremely low scarring. It was just one
Hmm.
tiny little red line across
Hmm.
my chest, and that was it. And
Yeah.
now it's faded to nothing. I mean, you
Yeah.
don't even know that anything happened.
It was
And
that
he did put,
7 years ago. Yeah,
yeah,
7.
he did
Yeah.
put spacers in there
Yeah.
to make
Hmm.
room for the implants if and
Yes.
when I want to get that.
Hmm.
So I went from a 44 double D to a 38 AB,
Wow. Wow.
and I'm fine. I am absolutely fine with that.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to find
Mhm.
clothes. I don't have to
Yeah.
have a backache all the time. So
Mm.
in a way, it was a blessing in disguise.
Yes. Yes.
It was.
You were able to make peace with it. You were able
Oh
to
yeah,
make peace
I
with
walked into the surgery knowing I was going to be fine, and I just carried on from that point
it.
on.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
not a, oh my God, woe is me, I'm going to die. None
Hmm.
of that. I went into it
Yes.
with, I'm going
Yeah.
to be fine, and
And
that was it.
that's been your mindset, and here you are, cancer free,
That's
7
right.
8 years later.
That's right.
So you healed from that, you moved through that, and then what happened,
Oh
Kathy?
boy. I was fine for 2 years, and then in 2020, I ended up with um, what was it, a gallbladder operation, I think, and they had to take that out, and then COVID was hitting the whole country,
Yeah,
so I
sadly.
ended up getting COVID 3 times.
Mm.
Actually, backtrack. I was the major event in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Joseph,
Yeah,
22.
22. I remember
Yeah.
that, Kathy. I can help.
Um, I ended up having a heart attack at
Yes, I
6:30 in the
remember.
morning, and
Mhm.
I had a 99% blocked artery behind my heart, and they
Wow.
almost lost me in the ambulance. And I went straight from the ambulance into surgery, and my doctor put a stent in, and I've
Mhm.
been fine, knock on wood. And
Yes.
then, at least with my heart, but then I ended up getting COVID 3 times.
Wow.
I ended
Wow,
up with
Kathy.
2 bleeding ulcers, one in my esophagus and one in my duodenum.
Ugh.
Then there was, oh, I can't even think. Uh,
Yeah, I was going to say, did you have MRSA, or maybe that was Joe that had
Joe had
MRSA?
MRSA. Joe had
Right,
MRSA.
right,
What was the
right.
other one, Joseph? I know that. What about me? Oh, yeah. And then I ended up, because I was so, sick with the heart attack and the
Oh,
everything else.
right.
I ended up with a bed sore.
A god awful
That
bed sore. It wasn't even
terrible,
just a bed
terrible.
sore.
I
It
mean,
was.
Joe is 6'2", and he's got big hands. He
Mhm.
was able to put his fist in the hole of the bed sore, and it went
Mhm.
all the way down to my
It's
pelvic
deep.
bone.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I was in the hospital quite a while with that. The bone got infected. They almost were going to
Oh,
have to shave the bone off to get the
yes, yeah.
infection
Mhm.
out, but luckily they didn't have to. I
And
was
you had a wound vac for a while. I
I had
remember
a
you.
wound vac.
Yeah.
I hated that thing. Um,
Yes.
I had that for a while. I was stuck in the hospital bed. I was not allowed to get up and walk. So for 29 days, I was on IV antibiotics to try and fight this thing.
Mm,
And I finally did. I was able to beat the infection. And
right.
then it took almost 2 years for the bed sore to heal.
Yes.
And in that time frame, my legs were like, oh, cool, we got a vacation. We don't have to
Mm,
walk, we don't have to do anything. And that's my
right.
main challenge right now
Is
is
walking
getting
again.
back on my feet. I
Yeah.
ended up having very bad osteoarthritis in my hips. So
Yes.
it's very painful to
Mhm.
try and get up and walk and stuff like that. But I am getting physical therapy now twice a week.
Mm,
And actually, it's more than twice a week because, in addition to my physical therapy tech, I do have a friend who is a very good physical therapy person, and she helps me also.
right.
So, between the two of them and my being a stubborn Polak, I am bound and determined to get back on my feet,
You're gonna be
to be
walking.
fine, and to be fine again.
Yes.
And I am just
Because
fighting.
what has it been 2 years since you have not walked?
No, it's been probably about a year ish
Mm-hmm.
because I
Mm-hmm.
had several um, trips to a rehab center,
Yes, I remember.
and
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
was walking then. But then what happened was the last time I went to the rehab center to get back on my feet, I was walking. I was able to walk like 28 feet on a walker, which I was really happy about. But
Right,
then when I came home, they put me in Joe's wheelchair,
right.
and I was not able to reach the wheels because it's a lot
Uh-huh.
further out, and
Right,
I was
right.
not able to push myself up from the chair to a
Mm-hmm.
stand
Yes.
because it was so far out, and I'm little, and they had me in a 24-inch wheelchair when I really only need a 15-inch one.
Right, right. Well, Kathy, it just feels, or listening, it's just a horrific event, and I'm just sorry that you've had to endure all of this. My sympathies are with you, and I was going to say it takes a certain amount of just resilience
Yeah,
to keep moving forward. What
yeah.
do you feel? What has been for you the most motivating thing, or yeah, for you, where does your motivation come from? Maybe I'll ask you that. Ask it that way.
My motivation is partly Joe's because he wants me to get on my feet so we can go out to eat,
I don't.
have a good time.
He loves
Because
restaurants.
exactly, he loves restaurants. We have friends who we used to go out to eat with, a couple times a month,
Yes.
and they want me on my feet also, so we can go do that again.
Mhm.
And plus, I want to be able to walk my dogs. I have three little chihuahuas,
Yeah.
and they are a really big motivating force because
Mm.
I want to be able to get back on my feet and walk my dogs.
Yeah, because I was
Because
just
that
going to
used to be so
ask you.
much fun.
I was just going to ask you, what is it that you would love to do right now? What is it that you miss doing? If someone said, right now, Kathy, we're going to wave that magic wand, what is that
Oh, that would
that
be
you'd
great.
love to do?
I would be able to walk and walk my dogs. And
Yeah.
that's my goal right now. To
Mm-hmm.
be able to get up on my feet and walk my dogs.
Right.
Got 3 little Chihuahuas. 2 of them are 11. One of them is 6. And the
Okay.
6-year-old is like a puppy because he's always go, 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 jump, 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 do this, do that. It's like he ate a bottle of Mexican jumping beans.
He's
And
got a lot of energy, is what I'm hearing.
does he ever? Does
Yes.
he ever?
And Kathy, I just wanted to ask too. So we know that your dogs are your biggest uh, motivator or encouraging factor to heal. Um, what has been the most kind or most encouraging thing that someone has said to you during this
I wish
period?
I could answer that because most of my friends, when I got sick, they disappeared.
That's exactly what yeah.
They all disappeared. And the ones that stuck around were like very neutral, maybe not negative exactly, but not overwhelmingly positive either.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're like, well, we hope you can walk. And I'm like, no, there's no we hope. I'm going to. I
Mm-hmm.
will.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to walk.
Yes, yes, yes.
So my main motivator and cheerleader is Joe, wanting me to
Great.
get up so we can go out to eat and stuff like that. And
Yes.
then my dogs,
Yeah.
because except for what was that? Oh, and going to Disney Star Wars Land. He wants to do
I
that.
want to go to
Oh,
Disney
oh,
and go
Joe,
to
yes.
Star
You can
Wars
jump right in here, Joe, if you want.
and go to Disney. I want to go to Disney and go on some of the vacations and here in Florida and Central Florida. So that'd be great.
It
Yeah.
would be great. It really would. I would probably have to use a scooter to get
Oh,
around
but you could do that. Yes,
I would
yes,
probably
yes.
have to do that because one of the other motivators that I have to getting back on my feet is I want to have hip replacement surgery on both
Oh,
hips so that
wow.
when I do get up on my feet and walk, it's not painful anymore.
Yes,
Because with
because
the arthritis that I have, sometimes when I go to take a step, when I was able to, that is, the pain in my hip joints would sometimes just make me sit right back down again.
yes, yes. Yeah,
And I
knock
don't
you to
want to
your
live like
feet.
that.
I mean, knock you off your feet is what I was
Yes,
going to say, knocking
yes,
you off your feet.
yes.
Well, 1 second, Kathy, I want to just acknowledge that we have Rachel Running, who is from Arizona. She was visiting here in Mexico for a little bit, but I see
Cool.
she had a safe trip back to Arizona, and just want to thank her for joining your Doula for Grief today. So Ola from Arizona, Borderlands.
Hi, Rachel.
Yeah, so wishing you well there, Rachel. Oh, Kathy, I'm just going to take a breath because take a pause. Both of
It
us take a
hasn't been
deep
easy.
collective breath. And I wanted to come back to, were there ever times, Kathy, that you felt like giving up? Or I know lots
Yeah,
of people would say that
yeah,
it would be better if I wasn't alive.
yeah.
Not that we're talking about suicide, but just feeling like. You want to speak to that for a minute?
I didn't allow myself to have very many moments like that,
Mm-hmm.
but there have been days where Joe would go to the supermarket or whatever, and while he was out, I allowed myself to cry
Yes,
and get
Kathy,
upset
yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
yell and, punch my legs and, things like that because I was angry and upset and
Yeah.
everything. So yeah, there have been
Mm-hmm.
times like that where I just could not deal with it. And I did talk to my doctor, and she did
Mm-hmm.
give me a prescription for an antidepressant pill
Mm-hmm.
to take when I needed it. And actually, I ended up with PTSD from
Oh,
the breast cancer surgery. Well, the breast cancer and then the surgery. And
Kathy's
I ended
saying
up with PTSD for that. So that
oh,
medication helps that as well. So I don't have to take it every day, but there are times where I do need to take one of those to help me get back up to the level of optimism that I want to always be at.
right,
So there are
right.
times when I do need, a little pick me up.
Yeah, a little boost, we'll
Right.
say.
But for the most part, I'm trying to be very optimistic on my own. And the fact that when I had physical therapy last week, I was able to stand up
Oh,
three,
that's so
three times.
applause
Thank you.
for
I
that.
was able to stand
You're,
up for a little over a minute,
you're on
another
the
one
right
about
track.
a minute, and then one about 45 seconds. So
Right.
I'm getting there. And then today,
Yes.
when I had physical therapy, I was able, with a lot of help, to
Uh-huh.
go from the hospital bed that I'm stuck in to the wheelchair with the help of
Oh,
my physical therapist.
oh, so you were able to transfer from the bed to the chair
Yes,
today.
yes.
That's
And
another
that's a big deal.
milestone.
Yep,
Yes. Oh
yep.
my goodness.
So that's
Yes.
another big deal for me. And
Mm.
when he left, I was like, "Can we do this again? The next day you're here." And he's like, "Yeah, we can." I'm like, "Okay, good."
Keep
Because
that.
I am really wanting to push myself to
Mm-hmm.
get going better, further, whatever. I mean, I'm not the
Yes.
$6 million man, but just
A
the
woman.
pursuit of being able to go further and do more every time, it's
Mm.
motivating me in a big way.
Oh, great, Kathy, and being a doula for grief or a grief coach, I say too that we do need to mourn those things. We do need to grieve, even if we just set aside 5 minutes a day to grieve.
Yep.
Your clock on 5 minutes, okay, and grieve. As you said, when you said to cry and to beat your legs or whatever it is that you need to do to feel that you're getting your grief moving through you. And
Yes.
the more you can lean into your grief, though, it makes it easier to pass through. It makes it
It
easier
does.
to
It
come
really does.
to the other
And I
side.
make sure that 99% of the time when I have an episode like that, I make sure that Joe's not around because I don't want him feeling bad because he already feels terrible that I can't get up and do stuff. And it's upsetting
Yeah,
for him. And I don't want him to be upset on my behalf.
I hear you. And what you're saying, Kathy, is truly a common statement that I hear from those that are grieving. I don't want my loved ones to see. I don't want my loved ones to be concerned about my emotional state. I don't want my loved ones. I don't want to upset them. So
Exactly.
that is a truth. And good dialogue. Now Joe's hearing that and having dialogue around that, right, Joe? Um, and
Yes.
yeah. All righty. We're
I
having
can't wait
some.
to go to there's a couple really good restaurants here, Kathy. We got to try.
Oh, you see.
So,
Hey, we're having couples counseling now.
yeah.
You're right.
Oh, yes,
Just
You're
grief,
right.
if you
You're
live down
doing
here,
a good
guys,
job, Bonnie.
if you guys live here, we could all go out to dinner and
Yeah.
celebrate when she
Oh
gets
my gosh. When I come to
Maybe,
Florida, we'll all
maybe
join
we'll go
in.
to
Oh, that
Mexico
sounds
on
like
a
a great
trip.
idea.
Maybe we'll get to
Yeah.
Mexico on a trip. That'd be fun.
That would
Yeah.
be fun.
Come on down. As you all know, I'm here in Mexico. So the last thing I'd like to ask you, Kathy, with all that you've been through and you're just a hero. You're on your hero's journey. I mean, healing from so many setbacks and continuing to put one foot in front of the other. I just wanted to ask you, is there something you would like to say to viewers who may be in a similar situation or going through a physically challenging illness or times? Is there anything that you would like to leave them with?
Yes. I have counseled women going through the breast cancer journey in the past And the main thing that works for that situation as well as my present situation is never give up. Always look forward to the next thing that you can possibly do. Even if it's something very tiny, it's still a step in the right direction. And
Right.
little bitty steps can become bigger steps and then running over time. I wish I could run right now, but I can't. But I
Yeah.
know that the standing up for 3 times that I did the other day and the transferring to the wheelchair today are both small steps, but they're in the right direction. And I'm
Yeah.
just going to keep moving forward. And that's what I really want anybody who's listening to us right now to know is don't let yourself get swallowed up by negativity and by
Oh, great.
grief and by worry. Just know that, okay, the song, the sun will come out tomorrow.
Yes,
It's
yes,
come
yes.
out. Even if it's raining, it's still going to be there. The sun's going to be there. And
Thank you.
don't give up. Just keep pushing forward. Don't give up.
Oh, well, Kathy, you definitely are a poster child in resilience and perseverance and never giving up and expanding and still smiling, even being, bed bound at this point. You're still smiling and looking beautiful. So
Thank you.
just your presence and just hearing your story, I know will motivate and encourage someone else.
I hope
to
so. I
keep
really
moving
do hope so.
forward. To keep moving forward. Life offers us challenges
Oh,
in
yeah.
so many ways and shapes, form, and fashion that we're offered challenges in
Yep.
life. But
That's
as
true.
Kathy says, just not giving up, never giving up, having that. I love that expression, Kathy. Failure is not an option.
Exactly.
Defeat is not an
Exactly. It's
option.
not. It really is not.
Yes.
And you can be the poorest person on the planet or the richest person on the planet. Life is still going to knock you down at some point, somehow, to some degree. And it doesn't matter who you are or what your job is or how many family members you have or whatever. It still comes down to your mindset. You have to
Yeah.
make sure that you have a positive mindset to get
Mhm.
you through the darker days. I'm not
Yeah.
going to say darkest because I'm not going to
Darker. Yeah. Yeah.
but you have to have a positive
Mm.
mindset to go through the darker days.
Wow.
And I have always been able to pull up some kind of positivity from somewhere.
The depth of your
Yes,
soul. Yes.
yes,
Pulling them up because it's there.
yep.
Wow.
And
And
even Joe says, how can you be so positive all the time? You've got this, that, and the other thing, blah, blah, blah going on. And I'm like, because you have to. You
yes,
just have
yes,
to. You
yes.
don't have any other choice.
Right.
I mean,
And
even
Joe,
when my mom was having breast cancer for like the umpty-month time
right.
and, had no hair, had to wear a wig, the whole bit. Anytime anybody asked her, hey, Pat, how you doing? She always gave them a big smile and said, I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah. What
And
is
that was just something that I got ingrained in me. And I just do the same thing.
great? And so I'm so glad Joe put up your email because I was going to say, Joe, can you put up her email? Can you just leave it up there for a few minutes, Joe, so that
I was going to ask you if it was okay to even do that. And I'm
Oh,
glad all
yes.
three of us are on the same page here.
Yes, yes, yes. And even though Kathy is moving through her health challenges and bed bound, she is still active, mentally active. She's going to edit a book for me because she's an editor. And I just thought, wow, am I being selfish to ask her to edit the book when she is
No, not at
recovering?
all.
But
It
yeah,
keeps
but
my brain going, keeps
yeah,
my attitude positive. No. I
yeah.
finished a poetry book a few weeks ago for a local
Great.
woman here. It's a kid's book about puppies, and it's a very cute story. She's looking for an illustrator now, but
Okay.
the poetry story is so cute. It really
Right.
is.
Right.
And she asked me the same thing. Would I be bothering you if I asked you to edit my book? And I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Editing is what keeps me sane.
Right. Using your brain. Using your brain.
Yep,
And what is that in science of mind? Change your thinking, change your life. So
that's
your
right.
thinking has really saved your life, Kathy.
Yes,
Really saved
yes,
your life.
that's true.
And Kathy, I just thank you so much for your yes today.
You're welcome.
I know that this program is touching just the right person right now.
I
If
hope
not
so.
one person, many people. So
I hope so.
I am touched by your story
Well, thank
and
you,
just
Bonnie.
applauding you and cheering you on.
Yay.
To when I get to Florida, we'll go to a restaurant because you'll be walking proud.
That
Okay.
sounds fabulous. Can't wait.
So, yes. So I just want to thank everyone for watching today. And if you're in grief, if you're moving through health challenges, please reach out to Kathy if you want to just to say, hey, I'm feeling overwhelmed. And as you know, I'm a grief coach, so I'm available. Reach out. I just don't want you to do grief alone. Whatever it is that you're going through, definitely you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah, you and I have spoken a couple of times, and you are a big help. You really
Oh,
are.
thank you.
You're,
Thank you,
you're a big
Kathy.
help.
So we got to support each other in
That's
this,
right.
supporting each other. So with that, I just want you, each person right now, or right after we end, I want you to go to the mirror. I want you to look yourself in the eye. I want you to hold your own gaze. And I want you to ask yourself, what do I need right now? What do
That's a
I
good
need right
idea.
now? Yes. And give it to yourself.
That's a great idea.
Mhm. So
And
ask
you ask
yourself
for $1
that
million?
each morning. You can ask. The universe is always taking our order.
I know, but so far that hasn't been fulfilled yet.
Oh, yet, Y-E-T,
Yep,
punctuate yet. Okay,
that's right.
and when you get yours, you send me mine.
Of
Okay.
course.
Uh, oh, thank you so much. And Kathy, if you can hang around after we end, that'll be great. So
Sure.
thank you so much for
No
tuning in,
problem.
for watching. And Kathy, thank you, and sending you and Joe big love. Thank
No problem.
you.
Thanks, Bonnie. It was
Until
fun
next
being here.
time. Gracias. Ciao.
Yep.